Second one goes back. I'm gonna skip to this. This is my mount macro. It just casts my flyer and then my normal mount. The important thing about this macro is that it cancels alter time. So I have a alter time that's spammable. I have an alter time that makes me go back, and then in my mount macro, I have a cancel alter. Say I pop alter, and then my healer just tops me all the way full, and like I don't want to actually go back in time. Then I press my mount, which is Y. And in a game, you're in combat, so you're not going to mount up or anything. You're just going to hit Y. It's off GCD, and it'll cancel your alter time and saves a bind. Really OP macro. This is for my priest. This is a counterspell macro, pretty basic. Stop casting, dismount. It cancels my ice block, and if I'm an ice block, so just basically instant counterspell. It'll cancel anything, dismount me, stop casting, whatever, and just counterspell the target. Keep in mind, guys, all my macros are down below in the FAQ. Armors, okay, I'll do that in a sec. Go to the gym, yeah, I will. I went to the gym yesterday at like 10:30 or so, and it's 8:30 right now. So it's not like I have to leave soon, but I would like to. All right, so yeah, these next three are CS123 macros. Really fucking important in my opinion. I use them all the time. Few really good things. You can spam them if a mage is coming out of invis, so you can get their first cast. You can spam it if a priest spectral geyses, and he's gonna cast out of it. Untargetable, like people, like you can just spam it and it'll get them instantly. Really OP. You either need this for CS, Poly, or Deep, and I think CS is the best of the three. The reason is it kind of completes, in 3v3 it kind of completes the fucking triangle. Let me explain myself. So you're going to have one target, you're going to have one focus target, and then the third person you can't really see. Like, their target's going to be the guy you're killing usually, your focus is going to be your healer, the third guy, where is he? Like, he's on your Gladius, can you target him? No. The reason CS123 is really OP is from what I just said, but also because you have a regular Deep, you have a focus Deep, you have a regular Poly, you have a focus Poly. So you have these two targets covered. You just don't have that third guy. So the CS covers the third guy. So if you want to Poly, like okay, something really common that you're gonna do in arena is, say you're fighting Rogue Mage Druid, which is probably like one of the most popular comps right now. You're gonna want to deep sheep the Druid a lot, or deep ring if he shifts deep. You want to deep the Druid. Say you're let's just say you're hitting Rogue. You're gonna have the Rogue targeted. You're gonna have the Druid on the focus. The Mage is gonna be not on your target or your focus. Okay. Just try to stay with me if you can. You're gonna deep the Druid. You're gonna silence the Mage with CS2 or whatever spot the Mage is in. If you didn't have this, you would have to either change your focus or change your target. But with CS123, you're not going to have to. You can focus deep the Druid, CS2 the Mage. You're going to still be attacking the Rogue, so you can, whatever, like Nova the Rogue, move away, and then Poly the Druid. The Mage can't stop the Poly because he's silenced. And yeah. So the reason CS123 is good is because it completes the triangle of Deep, CS and Poly. So if you don't have CS123, I recommend having Poly 123 or Deep 123, just so you can complete the triangle. Okay. Someone said armors. I'll just go over armors real quick before I finish my macros. Mage armor versus casters, molten armor versus melee. End of story. So double caster, mage. Melee caster, molten. Melee, molten. Yeah. I think the only exception is Shadow Cleave. Warlock DK, you're going to want to be mage. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So, melee, molten. I guess I should say physical, molten. Physical caster, molten. Caster. I want to go mage. Okay, let's finish this. This is a mouse over decurse macro. Pretty simple. Decurse. Just mouse over. Fucking OP. It's actually really good. If you don't have a mouse over target, it'll decurse yourself. If you do, it'll decurse the person you have mouse over. It's a priest macro. This is just a bind saver. It's just a deep and a focus deep into the same bind because I didn't want it on my bars because I ran out of space. I didn't really run out of space, but I like the spacing in between my spells, which I'll go over in a sec. So yeah, this is just a deep, and if you hold down shift, it'll focus deep. This is a pet dismiss macro. Let me think of when this is good. It used to be good last expansion because if you dismissed your pet, resummoned it, you'd get another freeze, but now that doesn't work. I had it from last expansion. The reason I have it now, I guess, is just so I can resummon my pet. If it's like really far, I can resummon it a little earlier than I would normally do that. This is just a manual focus, so I can just set my focus with Shift B. I don't need to be in Arena to right-click Gladius or anything like that. I can just change my focus based on, whatever. Just a backup to change my focus. I don't use it that much in Arena. Backslash focus, just a simple macro. Focus counterspell, once again, simple macro. Don't use that on my mage. Focus poly. Self-explanatory, just whatever. I guess I could go over the difference, like why I have this on its own bind instead of with my poly bind. So the way I've always controlled my pet control, like in WoW, is in my poly bind I have pet passive and pet follow, which means my pet can be attacking something, and if I want to pull it back, I'll hit my poly bind. Even if I'm not polying someone, even if I'm not, even if I'm casting already, I'll just hit my poly bind and my pet will come back. So say my pet is attacking this guy, I'm attacking this guy, I can pull my pet back just by doing that. My pet's attacking this guy, I'm attacking this guy, pull my pet back. I didn't cast poly anywhere, but I hit my poly bind to pull my pet back. That's like the most OP thing. The reason I don't have a modifier like I do in my deep freeze macro for my poly macro is because I don't want the pet follow and the pet passive to be in my focus poly. Because when I'm focus polying someone, I don't want my pet to come back. It's only when I'm regularly polying someone. This is pet action button 3, which is move pet. That's how you eat trap with pet. It's just a simple macro to move your pet. You can just bind it anywhere in your action bar. Invis. A lot of people ask about this macro. Console FFX Netherworld 0. It makes my invis not have all that like fuzzy gray shit, or at least not nearly as much. It does really far, but as you can see, my invis looks pretty normal. I don't really use that. My Living Bomb macro dismounts me, cancels Ice Block, cancels Slow Fall, cancels Invis. It cancels everything and casts Living Bomb. Also, it has Mage Bomb instead of Living Bomb in there, so if I switch to Frost Bomb or Nether Tempest, it'll still work. So / cast Mage Bomb is really good. I don't use this. I already went over my mount macro. I went over this. Okay, this is actually probably something that I shouldn't do, but I do, is I have on use and Icy Veins to the same button, and I don't recommend it. It's just what I've always done. It's not too big of a deal. That's obviously like whatever. Like I've gotten rank 1 multiple times with this, so it's not like it's gonna fucking hold you back that much, but it's not optimal. You should have separate binds for on use and Icy Veins. I have them together. As you can see, my Icy Veins is just unbound. I just have it here so I can see the cooldown. It's just macroed into C. Yeah, so I would not recommend this. You definitely want to have a different bind for Veins and on use. Like I said, not a huge deal because you're going to be using them together 99% of the time. 1% of the time, though, you're going to want to pop Icy Veins without popping your on use so you can spell steal quicker. Get faster spell steal globals and then maybe just Icy Veins into a poly and then pop your on use 4 or 5 seconds after that once you get the CC. So yeah, not optimal. Symbiosis macro, and it's not needed at all. Spell Steal, this is actually a good macro. Cancels sack. If you're fighting a Pally, he sacks. You're fighting Pally KFC, say. He sacks the hunter. You Spell Steal the sack. Poly the Pally. It'll still break unless you take the Hand of Sack off yourself. So cancel Hand of Sacrifice in your Spell Steal macro. OP as fuck. It also cancels Pyro because I never play Fire, and if I'm fighting a Fire Mage, it'll cancel Pyro. That's for my Priest. Water Ellie macro, I fucking love this macro. I guess I can just tell you what it does. It's bound to R. So if I hit R, my pet is gonna attack the target. R is also bound to Pet Nova. So R is attack. That's why you'll always see this green thing come up, even if we're not Pet Noving. Because R is bound to Pet Attack. So yeah, this macro makes my pet attack, makes the Pet Nova go out. So, and if I don't have a pet, it'll summon it. So R is Summon Water Elemental, R is also Pet Attack, and R is Pet Nova. People always ask like, oh, why do you have no binds? Like you always have like so few spaces. Because I have a lot of bind savers. I have a lot of shit bound in, like built in. Alright, so yeah. So I want my pet to attack that, I want a pet to attack that. I'll just periodically be hitting R throughout the game. Then when I want a Pet Nova, you know, I R to Pet Nova. So pet control is R for me, and then scroll down. So it's Summon Water Ellie and Polymorph is how I control my pet. Solely. Like that's pet control for me. It's just Summon Water Ellie, so R, and then Polymorph. I can either make it attack, make it come to me, and then I just have a separate bind for moving it manually. But yeah, it's like the easiest fucking way to control your pet as a mage. Okay, that's all my macros. We went over armors. We went over macros. Keybinds, okay. I'm gonna go over UI before I do keybinds. Well, it's kind of at the same token. Alright, so the way I have my action bars set up isn't random. I put everything in a specific spot, pretty much on purpose. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. Palm, Presence of Mind, and Alter Time are really close because a lot of the times you're going to be using them together. They're both on the same cooldown, 1.5 minutes for each. So having Palm and Alter next to each other is very fucking profitable. On Use and Orb are next to each other, because you're going to be using them at the same time pretty much every time. You're going to be on Use Orbing, spamming Lance. Ice Block, Cold Snap, Evocate are all defensive cooldowns. They're all next to each other. Deep Freeze, Counterspell, next to each other. You're going to be using Deep and Counterspell in unison most of the time. Deeping one guy, CSing the other. Deeping one guy, CSing after. Deep CSing someone so we can't IBF or, you know, break your sun or Shaman Rage. Yeah, Trinket and Will, obviously, very similar abilities. Yeah, so I think that's, I guess that's like the major points. As a mage, you want On Use and Orb together. You want Ice Block and Cold Snap together. You want Deep Freeze and CS together. Yeah, those are the big three. Keybinds. I've said this before, I'll say it again. It's just whatever you feel comfortable with, man. Honestly, there's no like best keybind for counterspell. There's no best keybind for something. Whatever you feel comfortable with. Once you find everything you feel comfortable with, don't change it for a long time. Get used to it. Make it, internalize it. Just make it habit. Like for my shaman, for example, there is such thing as bad keybinds. Like really bad keybinds. For my shaman, like I'm gonna change my keybinds. My keybinds are fucking terrible. Like I can't do the things I want to do because my binds are too hard to hit. But I just haven't gotten around to like finding good keybinds yet. So you want to be able to do things that your class calls for, like in unison, quickly. So like you're gonna want to be able to deep in CS very quickly. You're gonna want to be able to like deep and focus CS or on use in deep and orb